Welcome to our Introduction to Action Learning video, designed to accompany our ILM programs in action learning and its facilitation. In this video, we will look at the background to action learning, its principles and components, the types of problems suitable for action learning, the action learning process, and our ILM Recognised programs in action learning. Reg Revans is widely regarded as the originator of action learning, a deceptively simple approach to human development in which small groups, or as Revans called them, action learning sets, learn from each other's failures and victories. His idea was of practical people learning from each other, creating their own resources, identifying their own problems and forming their own solutions. He insisted that people will learn much more in this way than they ever could through other directed learning, such as from management experts importing other prefabricated knowledge. Action learning thereby seeks to replace instruction with a facilitative approach to learning, which enables individuals' personal growth rather than focusing on the acquisition of knowledge. Although he did not coin the phrase until 1972, his professional and personal experiences led him to develop his thinking into what we now know today as action learning. Revans's ideas about action learning took shape while studying as an experimental physicist at the Cavendish Laboratories in Cambridge University, where he studied under Rutherford and Thomson, the fathers of nuclear physics. Whilst there, he took part in weekly seminars where researchers came together to describe their work and the problems they were facing and to ask questions of each other. It was this act of sharing their ignorance which enabled them to move forward beyond their textbooks into areas where there were no experts or ready-made knowledge. He later left Cambridge University when it became clear in which direction nuclear research was going, and as a pacifist, he decided that the weaponization of nuclear energy was not for him. In 1935, Revans became the Director of Education at Essex County Council, where he was looking at the high levels of staff turnover in hospitals, particularly nurses who were leaving very soon after their training, and he discovered that many were dissatisfied in their role and that their working culture did nothing to encourage them, as senior managers refused to acknowledge the ability of nurses to contribute to how a ward is organised or a patient treated, and it was this that led to high turnover of staff and a shortage of trainee nurses. And he predicted that there would be continuing unrest until senior managers understand that they will only ever know their nurses' problems if they understand what they are thinking. And in 1938 his findings were written as a research paper containing many of his formative thoughts on action learning. After the war, he was invited to work on restructuring the newly nationalised Coal Board as the Director of Education. He was responsible for planning recruitment, education and training, but began his task in typical style by working for several weeks at the coalface with the miners. As a result of losses during the war, there were so few people who could manage the mines, it would be too challenging for those working on them to be away on educational courses, so he had to do something differently. He adopted a system he had seen in the research laboratories, where colleagues shared and compared their problems, ideas and findings, and invited the managers of coal mines to do likewise. He suggested that they visit each other's coal mines, usually in small groups, which he called a set of managers. Through visiting each other's mines and through discussing their observations, they not only learned best practice, but also had a mutual support from each other to introduce new methods to their own mines. He championed a staff training college to be run by the colliery managers, and outside experts were not invited because Revans saw no need to sit at the feet of gurus, and the pits that tried out these methods report a 30% increase in productivity. After his time at the National Coal Board, Revans became the very first professor in industrial administration at the University of Manchester. Revans proposed the model of action learning in the workplace with peers learning from peers. However, his philosophy didn't sit well with those who dreamt of the money to be made from the traditional Masters of Business Administration program, the MBA, which at that time was just being imported from America. In fact, he was so disappointed with the chalk and talk approach of the MBA that he rather stingingly referred to it as moral bankruptcy assured, in that it was teaching managers how to be morally bankrupt. Revens then went to spend a number of years in Belgium, as Brussels had just become the capital of the common market. There he set up the Inter-University project, where up to 5 Belgian universities participated on his Action Learning programme, where business corporations exchanged top managers to work on each other's problems, thereby bringing in outside perspectives to provide fresh insights to help their workplace challenges. Revens wrote, "I wasn't there to teach anyone anything. We got people talking to each other, asking questions. People from the airline businesses talked to people from the chemical companies. People shared knowledge and experience." 22 of Belgium's largest companies, which represented more than half of Belgium's capital base, participated in this programme. And this inter-university project succeeded in significantly increasing Belgium's rate of economic growth as it grew by over 100% in the 1970s, while Britain's industrial productivity during the same period grew only 28%. Revens later reported other sources of inspiration for his ideas of action learning, one of those being the fact that his father was the principal surveyor of mercantile shipping and was actually heavily involved in the inquiry into the sinking of the Titanic. Revens recalls seeing a steady stream of sailors coming to his home to report on their experiences aboard the liner, and he recalls asking his father which lesson was the most important to be learned from that tragedy. His father eventually said that we must learn to distinguish between cleverness and wisdom, that is, the supposed cleverness of those who owned and ran White Star Line, the company that owned the Titanic, and the wisdom of the sailors and mariners who operated the ship. Inspiration also came from his Quaker faith. Quakers make use of clearless committees, a process which brings together community members who can assist with seeking clearness on a challenge or problem that a member is facing. And through a process of asking questions, the person is encouraged to find their own answer from within rather than seeking outside advice or guidance. Revens's ideas about action learning are probably best summarised by this quote: "When doctors listen to nurses, patients recover more quickly. If mining engineers pay more attention to their men than to their machines, the pits are more efficient. As in athletics and nuclear research, it is neither the books nor the seminars from which managers learn much, but from the here and now exchanges about the operational job in hand." Probably the closest definition that Revens ever made about action learning is this: the central idea of this approach to human development at all levels, in all cultures, and for all purposes is today that of a set or small group of comrades in adversity, striving to learn with and from each other as they confess failures and expand victories. This idea about comrades in adversity is an interesting one. People who come together because they have a shared experience, shared struggles, because they want to help each other and support each other. They want to understand and take action on the problems that they each face. A more contemporary definition was written about by Christine Abbott from the Centre for Action Learning and Mike Pedler, who describe action learning as an approach to individual and organisational development. Working in small groups, people tackle important organisational issues or problems and learn from their attempts to change things. So as you can see, action learning really is about learning through action, rather than from relying on experts and their predetermined knowledge. This is probably best summarised in Revens's quote here: "There is no learning without action, and no sober and deliberate action without learning. Action and learning are inextricably linked. You cannot have one without the other." So, as well as action, what else is required for learning? Revens' learning equation summarises this, that learning, that is L, requires P, programmed knowledge, so that might be knowledge from textbooks, from teachers, from past experiences, from courses, training, etc. But it also requires insightful questioning, which is Q. So a combination of programmed knowledge and questioning insight is what leads to learning. Questioning the programmed knowledge, the knowledge that has already been obtained and is already known, so that we can make sense of it in the context of our own lives and our own working practices. So what is required for action learning? What are its key components? Well, the person needs to be committed to this type of learning and be committed to the group that they are part of. They need to come to the group with a problem or challenge that they want to work on. The group consists of a group of peers or comrades in adversity who want to support and challenge each other to find new solutions to the problems they are facing. And importantly, taking action on the problem and learning from the actions that they've taken. So where does the action take place? Well, that's between each of the set meetings, which are usually spaced between a month to 6 weeks apart, allowing sufficient time for members to go out, experiment and try new things. They will then return to the next group to update their peers on what they've done, and importantly, what they've learnt from reflecting on what they've done. As the group progresses, they not only learn through taking action on their own problems, but they also learn how to operate better and more effectively together as a group. Through the process, the group will also begin to uncover new insights and new learning about their context, their cultures, their environments, or their organisations. And this learning can be taken to help organisations and systems and communities make better and wiser decisions. Revens described this by saying, doubts ascending speed wisdom from above. That is, the doubts or the questions or the new insights from the set members undertaking action and exploring the challenges in their sets will help them uncover new truths. And if these new truths and new insights can be allowed to ascend in the organisation, then it will help those decision makers to make better and more wiser decisions. So this diagram also demonstrates this. People come to the group with their challenges, the real workplace or societal challenges that they are facing. Through a process of action learning and through participating in sets through the duration of a program, individuals will also learn about themselves through the actions they take, but also through reflecting on how they participate in the group, thereby improving their self-leadership skills. Collective learning also takes place by set members reflecting on how they participate, engage and relate together as a group, and how they develop as a team. Over time, through the course of the action learning programme, the group or set will become much more efficient and be able to relate much better together, improving how they work and how they learn. Fundamentally, at its core, action learning is an organisational learning technique. And as already mentioned, organisations will be able to make wiser decisions by hearing the learning that comes from the groups and listening to the doubts that are ascending from them. It is the actions taken by individuals and all other stakeholders invested in the action learning programme which will help the individuals, groups, organisations and systems change, develop, innovate and grow. When talking about action learning, Revens made the distinction between puzzles and problems. Puzzles often have a single right answer, where escapes are thought to be already known. Problems, on the other hand, are more complex and may have many different potential solutions, so that many different people, all reasonable, experienced and clear-headed, might set out to resolve them in markedly different ways. There are 3 questions which can help you identify whether the issue you have selected for your action learning set is right. The first is that it has to be a real problem. Is it real for you and for others? Is it a genuine no right answer situation? That is it a problem rather than a puzzle? And if you can create some movement on this issue, will you feel better? Answering those three questions will help you prepare the right problem for your action learning set. So what happens in a set meeting? Well, firstly, action learning sets usually consist of between 6 to 8 members. This is just enough people to ensure that everyone will have at least one opportunity to present a problem to the group during the action learning programme. Too many people will mean that too much time passes between set meetings before everybody has had that opportunity, and too few will mean there is not enough breadth of perspective or input to effectively support people with their problems. As it will be several weeks since the sets last met, the first is an opportunity for a check-in to see how people are, to re-establish connections and relationships. The second step will be for those people who presented in the preceding meeting to report back on the actions that they've taken and what they've learnt from those actions. The third step will be agree who will present in that set meeting. Those set members who have a challenge or issue that they would really like the group to concentrate on will discuss these with the group, and the group will then decide whose will take priority and whose should be focused on. As set meetings are usually only a few hours long, there isn't enough time for everybody to present. So one way around this is to divide up the time of the set meeting by the number of set members present. Those set members who are not presenting in this meeting can donate their portion of the time to the person who wants their problem focused on. In this way, the presenter will be able to collect enough time for them to talk through their issue. They can then return the favour in future set meetings, giving back their time to people who had donated in the preceding set. It is usually helpful to agree the roles that set members will take on during the meeting. Some people might want to manage the time, other people might choose to manage the process. Other people might take responsibility for ensuring that the room is set up well, there is enough refreshments and equipment for the set meeting. Some members might choose to observe the process, that is, not participate actively in the problem cycle, but observe group dynamics and provide feedback at the end of the set on how everybody is interrelated and engaged in the process. Now is the time for the presenter, who's been identified as the person who will use the time in this set meeting, to talk about their issue, for the set members to attentively listen and ask questions to help the presenter unlock new insights and hopefully discover solutions that they can work on after the set meeting. Depending on how much time has been allocated to that set meeting, more than one person might have the opportunity to present. Once the presenter has identified some possible solutions and steps they can take to progress with their issue, they should then commit to some action. These actionable steps should be very clear and precise and be communicated to the group. It might be helpful to make a record of these, so at the next set meeting you can support the presenter to reflect on what they've done and also what they've learnt from the actions they've taken. Once the problem cycle has been completed and the actions identified, now it's turn for the group to review how they've engaged in the process. This will involve set members providing feedback on their own participation, but also what they've observed from their peers and from the group as a whole. If a member was designated as a set observer, now's the opportunity for them to provide feedback on what they've observed and on the notes they've taken. All this information will help the group improve how they relate together and how they engage in the process, making them much more efficient and effective as the programme progresses. So let's recap the typical action learning process. Step 1 is a check-in and catch-up with progress updates from each member, including progress on any actions taken since the last set's meeting. Step 2 is where the agenda is set. That's deciding who will present, in which order, and agreeing any roles the members will take on. Step 3 is where the presenter then describes their issue, problem or challenge to the group, before the group asks a round of open questions to help the presenter think differently about their problem and help stimulate new insights. Once this is completed, the presenter then agrees smart actions they will complete before coming to the next set's meeting. Then finally, the group reflects on their performance and engagement in the process, paying attention to any predetermined individual and group development goals. Thank you for watching, and we hope this video has given you a good introduction to action learning and given you the appetite to try it for yourself. At the Centre for Action Learning, we believe that organisations and individuals work better together. Our focus is on helping organisations and individuals develop confident, sustainable and appropriate leadership at all levels. We believe effective leadership is a deeply personal endeavour that requires the ability to see patterns, themes and connections between parts of the whole organisation and its environment. Our underpinning approach is that leadership, culture and strategy need to work in service of each other and also flex and change together. We use action learning methodologies with a large variety of organisations to provide a wide range of sustainable programmes of leadership, research, evaluation and facilitation. I would like to take this opportunity to tell you about our ILM Recognised programmes, which are structured to provide a clear, progressive, linear learning pathway from Level 1, Introduction to Action Learning, to Level 2, Foundation in Action Learning Facilitation, and finally to Level 3, our Advanced Action Learning Practitioner programme. We understand that for the full potential of action learning to be reached, we must first start with ourselves. We must start by developing a robust, personal understanding of what it means to be an action learning practitioner, to have first-hand experience of using action learning techniques to support our own and others' development. Our Introduction to Action Learning programme has therefore been designed to do just that, to provide you with a robust introduction to action learning practices and insights into its unique benefits for personal and peer development. On completing this programme, learners can progress to our Foundation in Action Learning Facilitation, where you will learn how to facilitate action learning sets and design action learning programmes of your own. For those who want to then progress further, we offer an Advanced Action Learning Practitioner programme, where you will be supported to learn and apply advanced action learning skills for leadership and organisational development. If you're interested in any of these programmes or in any consultancy that we provide, then please do get in touch via our email or website.